Thank you once again. And we hope that we have an exciting and insightful discussion over this topic, which so many people have yearned for over the years. Thank you once again for being with us, and I'll see you at 9:30. Once again, thank you for joining us for this webinar today. I want to quickly acknowledge the presence of the guest speaker in person of Mr. Idris Ayodeji Bello, which in no short time will introduce to the House in due time. Thank you once again for finding the time to join us today. And we hope and believe that the knowledge we shall gain today will be very insightful and enlightening for the progress of all. Once again, thank you for your patience as we wait for other participants to join up, and we'll start 9:30 prompt.
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
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 The meeting hasn't started, is it?
Now we start in 1 minute time. Just 1 minute. Yes.
Okay. All right, okay.
Nice.
Oh yeah, let me come, Michelle.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all, depending on where you're joining us from across the world. I am Isa Muhammad, and I will be your moderator for today. On behalf of the Nigerian community at KFUPM and its environs, we hereby welcome you to this webinar program today. This has been a program that so many have requested for over the course of the month, and we are indeed happy that today it's indeed a reality. On behalf of the community, we welcome you to the program. And a special thanks to our guest speaker, as well as the panelists for taking out time to be with us. More thanks to the participants who have also taken out time out of their busy schedules to be with us in this engaging discussion. So first and foremost, we want to thank God Almighty for giving us the will, the zeal, good health, and the presence to be here today to witness this program. Every gathering should start with praises given to God for his mercy and his guidance in our lives. To begin the program and not to waste too much time, I will take us through the rule of engagement. Thereafter, I will introduce the community leader in person of Mr. Adam to give the welcome address before we shall have some polls to have an idea of the diversity in our audience. I mean, in terms of where you're joining us from. We need to know where you're joining us from. And then straight after that, we'll go into the discussion proper. That is a keynote speech by our guest speaker. After then, we'll proceed to the panel session where discussions will be held with regards to investments, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So I'd like to kindly remind us all that during the course of the program, we should try as much as possible to make our mic muted. And if we have any questions during the course of the presentations, do kindly just type it into the chat box, and we have dedicated personnel who are going to do justice to the questions and ensure that the guest speaker answer or addresses all questions that have been raised so far. I, at this junction, will like to welcome the community leader in person of Dr. Adam, and call upon him to give the welcome address to the participants of the webinar. Dr. Adam?
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا ما يهدي الله فلا مضل له وما يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. I greet you all in the best form of greeting by saying that may the peace and blessings of Almighty Allah be on each and one of us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Now, let me start briefly by welcoming all of us to this auspicious occasion and very important sitting for each and one of us. So we welcome you all, and also specifically I use this opportunity to welcome my dear brother, Mr. Idris Bello. So we thank you for taking out of your very busy schedule to answer our call to have a presentation for us on this very important topic as already itemized. Without wasting much time, I will soon, inshallah, hand over to allow the program to go on. But meanwhile, in my welcoming speech, I will let us just realize that some couple of things that we all need to bear in mind, and we hope that our lecturer and the panelists that will be discussing today will be able to shed some light, and at the end of the day, we'll all go back home with having benefited a lot from the program. Without missing word, a lot of people, even though that has been the reality, people are coming to realize that getting stuck in salary-based earning is nothing. It's not a reality. It's not a real way to really live a life. No matter how much your salary is, it has come to be established based on experience and statistical data that at the worst case, the difference between a salary earner is just a month or 2 months salary. The moment a salary earner is denied his or her salary for 1 or 2 months, then he or she starts to look for a way to borrow money to survive, despite all the acquired credentials and positions. So this is why this kind of sitting is really very, very important. However, at the same time, a couple of brothers, friends have attempted in the past to invest. However, maybe they made wrong choice of investment. So they invest and their money never bring anything positive. So hopefully they are going to be able to learn today how to select the appropriate avenue to invest and what to look at or look out for when you are trying to decide on where to invest in. I know there's going to be a panel discussion on this. Also, we have people who have that innovating power or capability. How are they supposed to deploy their innovative power so that they don't waste their innovative power on what has been done before or what is not really valuable as the thought. So hopefully also there's going to be panel discussion on this, and our lecturer will be able to, based on his wealth of experience, mashallah, will be able to guide people in this category. And also the third category also is there, the entrepreneurs. So people who are wishing to go into this. Many people in the past have tried to establish one form of businesses and the likes, but then it met a failure, met with failure, either because of lack of trustworthy people to rely on to manage the business while one is very busy with his own career jobs. So hopefully some of these challenging questions will be attended to by the end of this, before the end of this particular section, and so many other point I would love to mention, but because of time. So I pray sincerely that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide the speakers, so especially our main speaker, Mr. Idris, and also other panel discussants to guide them, may Allah guide them to steering the program in the right direction that will benefit each and every one of us. This is one of many programs that our community, Nigeria, in KFUPM and its environs have been trying to arrange of recent, and we hope that more beneficial programs like this will come up, inshallah, as we proceed. Once again, let me again thank my brother for sincerely honoring our invitation, considering his very tight schedule. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it from us act of ibadah and facilitate your affairs. And to the organizer, headed by Mr. Blackie, may Allah reward you all for the great effort. Once again, I welcome all of you to this program, and I hope, inshallah, you are going to enjoy and never regret attending the program. Thank you very much. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.
Thank you very much, the community leader, person of Mr. Adam, for such a brief and insightful introductory speech. From the polls we've taken so far, I see that we have participants from Saudi Arabia, Nigeria. We have participants from Asia, other Middle Eastern countries, North America, Europe, and Australia, which gives us a very diverse audience. And we sincerely want to also thank you for taking out time to join us at this hour. Not to take too much of our time, I will encourage us to kindly mute our mics while the presentation goes on. If you have any question, you could type it into the chat box, and we'll make sure the presenter or the key special guest addresses such questions. So to introduce our special guest today, who is in person of Mr. Idris Ayodeji Bello. He's an entrepreneur with focus, with African focus. Mr. Idris Bello is a partner at Lift Inc. Applied Partners Limited and co-founder of the Innovation Hub, an innovation platform based in Nigeria that has successfully accelerated several startups based on social impact sectors. He is a first-class honor graduate of computer engineering from Obafemi Awolowo University, Nigeria. He holds a master's degree in computer science and data mining from University of Houston. He has an MBA in entrepreneurship and strategy from Rice University in Houston. Also holds a second MSc in global health science from the University of Oxford, where he was 2011 recipient of the Lord Whittingfield Scholarship. Our speaker for the day has spent a greater part of a decade working with Chevron Corporation and ExxonMobil USA, where he has led several large upstream technological projects across USA and sub-Saharan Africa. He has also worked with the Clinton Foundation Health Access Initiative, where he played a major role in the development and the evaluation of Swaziland's first mobile health patient appointment reminder system as part of the country's national AIDS program. To list but a few of some recognitions that our speaker holds today, he's been listed among CNN's top 10 African technological voices. He is a Singularity University Impact Fellow, Harambee Entrepreneur Alliance Associate, Clinton Global Initiative University Fellow, an MIT Global Startup Fellow, SAP Ashoka Global Changemakers Award winner, and last but not the least, a Dell Technology Award winner. As you can see from his resume, he is one person who is truly qualified to sit with us today to discuss such an engaging topic. So at this junction, without taking too much of your time, I would like to invite Mr. Idris Ayodeji Bello to kindly take us through his presentation. The floor is yours.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Sabah al-khair, assalamu alaikum, yaya de, bonjour, what else? ¿Cómo está? Caro. Anyways, so thank you very much, everyone. particularly the organizers who have dragged me from my bed at these early hours on a Saturday to do this, and also those who have also left their beds or whatever they're doing at this point to listen to me. Thank you very much. I hope it is a beneficial session, inshallah. So the topic I've been given is building viable businesses. Building viable businesses for diaspora entrepreneurs, innovators, and investors. But I've decided to change it a little bit to my own topic called Investing in the Dark, a cautionary tale of investing in Nigeria from a distance, lessons learned from the school of hard knocks. Now, I've done that because building businesses is not an easy thing. And a lot of times when people get on, the people who call the aspire to perspire motivational speakers, they tell you go and drop your 9-to-5 job, go and start a business and stuff like that. I'm not here today to do that, to tell you to drop your 9-to-5 job, because the reality is, even when there are businesses will only survive if there are other people who are willing to do 9-to-5 jobs. And it is very, 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 very difficult to succeed as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. And so I'm not here to tell you go and drop your jobs, right? So that's important to first take that out. So rather, what I want to do is to paint to you a realistic picture of investing, especially when you are investing from a distance in a place like Nigeria. I'll point out to you the opportunities are there, but also let you understand the issues that surround running a business remotely or investing in a business remotely. But if you so decide to do that, how best can you optimize your chances of success? That's really what I'm here to do today. So once again, I thank the KFUPM family for inviting me. I unfortunately did not graduate from KFUPM, even as much as I tried. Early in the early 2000s, there were a couple of us who were intent on going to KFUPM. One of my organs is here too popular. But then KFUPM had this habit of you apply this year, they will not find your form, your admission form or whatever until next year. So some of us have to switch allegiance. But I've been around the campus in the past few years to meet a couple of friends. I have a lot of friends who are existing students or alum of KFUPM or who live in the Daran area or the Damam area. So I'm at home, as they say. So what I intend to do over the next couple of minutes is to share with you my own journey as a diasporian, which I think is the key thing to majority of the people who are on. Yeah, I don't know people from Nigeria too, but I think the core folks there who organize this lecture are people who are in the diaspora and who are thinking of how do we invest back home? How do we run businesses back home? And so I want to share my own experiences as someone who has been part of you and who is still probably part of you in one way or the other. Right. So what is a diaspora? And I know we also talk about diaspora. So the dictionary defines a diasporan as a person living in a diaspora. That is any member of a particular group of people who are dispersed beyond their traditional homeland or point of origin. So in this particular case, it is mostly Nigerians who, for one reason or the other, are living outside of Nigeria. Whether you're in the Middle East, whether you're in the UK, in the US, in Canada, Australia, Finland, or even if you're in Benin Republic or Niger, right? So again, you're in the diaspora. And 2004 was when I made that decision to join the diaspora when I left Nigeria for the US, right, and became a member of the diaspora. And so I can say over the past few years, I have been someone who has been in diaspora, right? And I think that probably qualifies me to talk to you about building businesses from the diaspora or investing from the diaspora. What is unique? What is that particular thing about the diaspora that uniquely it makes them interested in wanting to to invest back home? So a couple of things that I put together, what I call the 4 E's and the 3 N's. The 4 E's and the 3 N's. You know, back in IFE, when you had all these tough courses, the only way you could memorize, you could survive was I build besok, come la poor. You memorize and you drop it. So I've gotten used to using that method in studying, right? So where you actually have a couple of acronyms and then you use that to memorize. Anyways, I have what I call the 4 E's and the 3 N's that actually put the diaspora in a very unique situation. The first E is what I call education. Most members of the diaspora are very well educated, and we have seen the stats in the US, right, where the Nigerians form a large, group of most of those who have higher education. And I'm sure a lot of the folks who are in KFUPM went there for masters or PhD or the rest. So again, most folks in the diaspora, a lot of the folks in the diaspora have high levels of achievement of education. So that's one thing, and that situates them to want to think of investing or having business. Second one is exposure. So by virtue of having lived outside of Nigeria and being exposed to different people, different networks, different things, it gives this level of exposure that is different from someone who has only lived in Nigeria. You've seen things work. You've seen things the way they're supposed to be. You've seen things differently from what you grew up being exposed to, whether it's in the field of education, healthcare, or even the society. And that gives you a different perspective on things. That's the second E. The third one, which is funny, is exchange rates, right? By virtue of the fall of the Naira over the past 20, 30 years, it means even if you, whether you're in Saudi or the US or the UK, your income suddenly has a perceived sense of power, right? When converted to Naira. And that supposedly gives you some extra income that you are then able to leverage for investment, right? We've seen the Naira to the dollar go from 1 to 120 in the past 20 years to where it is now at 1 to 450 or 470, and even approaching 500. And so there's that perceived sense of, you know what, my dollar here, my dirham here, my real here can go much further if I spend it in Nigeria. And that gives you some extra, I say perceived, because sometimes it's not really that people in the diaspora are much better to do than those who are back home. In fact, a lot of times those who back home are probably better to do, right? But again, there's that passive sense of you are earning foreign exchange, and therefore that gives you extra to spend. So those are, and that's the third E. The fourth E is what I call eventual home return. In a lot of instances, members of the diaspora still look at home as Nigeria, where they're going to return. And so they want to prepare for what they're going to return to, right? And this is much more important, I think, for those who are in the Gulf, Gulf regions, in the Arab countries, in Saudi, in Dubai and co, where it's very difficult to become citizens, or almost impossible, or to become permanent residents. It's a little bit different from those in the UK and the US, because a lot of people there actually go and stay with the intent of staying there for forever, right? But of course, even among them, so like my business is in Houston, right? So there's still a large proportion of the community who still look at going back home, and so they get involved with businesses back home. But I think more importantly for the people in the Gulf regions, they know they're there for a while, and the day they stop working, they have to go back home. So they don't want to go back home empty-handed or get home and there's nothing for them to do. And so that gets into the thinking of why do we need to start businesses or do something back home, because our job is going to end here. So that's the first E, the eventual home return. So then I go to the N. The first N is the networks. By virtue of being in the diaspora, you have built networks across different areas, whether it's career networks, whether it's school networks. You've built networks that go beyond your normal people that you went to high school or university in Nigeria with. And so that allows you to be able to tap into things, right? So even if there's a new sector, there's something AI on different fields that you do not know, by chance someone you went to school with knows about it. So I've been privileged to have 3 masters in 3 different countries. And my late dad, may Allah forgive him, used to joke that the only reason I had 3 masters was because I was too lazy to do a PhD, and I was probably right. But the world that has afforded me to do is to have networks in different universities, different sectors, so that today, if you bring an issue up on healthcare, I probably would not know it, but I have friends who can advise, and the same thing in different sections. And that's one of the advantages of having been in diaspora. Then the next end is what I call nostalgia, right? We all like to imagine Nigeria as this great place, and with this fondness, remember going back, going up. And so no matter how comfortable you are in diaspora, there's still that fondness, that nostalgia about living back in Nigeria, going back to live in Nigeria, setting up businesses in Nigeria, and the rest. So that nostalgia plays a huge role. And the last end is what I call non-presence. And this is what complicates a lot of things. So for a lot of people who have all these aforementioned traits and want to use that to leverage into investing or back home, or to build a business back home, I think what now complicates all of it is this idea of you are not present on the ground. And so that complicates things, because one, you're unable to monitor things properly, as we'll see in some of the things I will share. You are also sometimes perceived as sending the extra you have. Whereas in reality, sometimes people are struggling where they are and just managing to send a little so they can prepare for the future. But sometimes that can be perceived wrongly as, you know what, this guy is very comfortable, he's only sending his extra. So if you help him manage and use the extra, it's not so much, all right? So again, so the question is now, so knowing all this, the idea is now, how does it not end in tears? That is really the cocoa of this talk today. How does all these things put together not end in tears when you decide to do a business back home? Okay, so I'll start with my own shared experience, my own personal experiences. So around 2004, 2005, I was living in Houston, Texas, and this was at the beginning of the wave of laptops back home in Nigeria. And so I became a Dell distributor, and I would buy Dell laptops, and I dare say about 60% of my classmates that we graduated at the fair together actually bought their first laptops from me back then in 2005, 2007, Dell laptops. So I would ship them to Nigeria because I saw to be able to access those laptops in the US, and I will send them back to Nigeria. And in the process, I learned a lot about doing business back home. For instance, part of it was issues like some of the laptops got broken in shipping. He had issues about some people got laptops without fully paying. But generally, I would say it was a largely successful business for me then, because the margins were good for me. And I think that was at a period where the exchange rate was pretty stable. So I wasn't losing much there. But what happened was this. So once I started doing that, I started thinking of, do I repatriate my money from the Nigeria back to the US, or do I put it into different businesses? And I started talking to people. And I remember one of the folks I talked to back then was Abigani Otukogbe, who was then into real estate and was convincing me to put it into property in Lekki. But I have one weakness, and that's real estate. I don't like real estate. And it's one of the business areas I don't even talk about because I don't do it. Because I just feel there's too much story around it, and I just stay away from it, even though there apparently a lot of upsides to it. So I didn't do the real estate. So I was now looking instead for businesses that will bring regular income, right? A lot of people looking for that. I said, okay, fine. I just want something to put the money in that maybe monthly I could basically get something out. Then they can go to other things in Nigeria rather than me having to send US dollars from Nigeria back home. And so I was thinking through this, and I got introduced to different businesses. And that led to what I call my big swindle, my first experience in losing real money in Nigeria. I think, so this was around 2007, 2008, One of the businesses I got introduced to was by a gentleman in Nigeria who was apparently running a fish meal business, right? Providing fish feed to different farms in Nigeria. And I got introduced to him and we spoke, we exchanged PowerPoint slides, spreadsheets, all the old stuff, right? We even signed an agreement, right? And then I invested. And the idea was basically would invest, and he had a couple of farms I was supplying the fish feed to. He was buying them from Holland by containers, and then was supplying them. And based on the maths, the profit was probably about 30, 40%. Then he would take half of that, and we end up with probably about 15% in profit. I saw all his documents, everything looked kosher, and so we put in money. And then first month, second month, third month, we were getting paid in my Nigerian account, and that was great. And I even introduced a couple of friends. It made so much sense to me. This was someone was doing a good business. I was helping him to grow his business, and I would call him regularly and talk about the business. I will talk about it's expanding, it's this, it's that. And I put in a lot of some of my bonds in the US. I had some money to spare, and we put in this. With time, we said, okay, you know what? It's important that we diversify, that we don't put only money in this. So we started asking around what are the other opportunities to put money in. Then this was at the point in time when diesel supply was fairly common. So we had a friend of a friend who was actually working with one of the telcos back then. And he was in charge of supplying diesel. I said, you know what? Why don't you guys bring money? We'll use it to get a tanker, and we'll supply diesel regularly to the telco. And then, of course, you get your own share of the profit. Again, made so much sense. We look at the numbers, PowerPoint slides, spreadsheets, made so much sense. Now, his own returns was probably about 8, 9, 10%. It was lower than the fish one. But we said, that's fine. It's good to diversify instead of putting all our money in one place. And it went on for probably close to a year until we started, I think, hearing stories. And then I think what happened was at some point, some of the people who had invested along with me wanted to get their money out, use for some other things. Some had invested the MBA funds, some their hedge funds. And then to withdraw each side hearing story. I think before that, what we had was the percentage went down. So the guy came back and said, you know what, I've been giving you 15%. However, the cost of the fish feed has increased from Holland, and I can't pass all of that on to my people. And so I'm going to have to cut down the profit. I said, yeah, that makes sense. That's the principles of ethical business that we understand, right? Again, we didn't even think there was anything to eat, right? Until I got to a point in time where to withdraw some of the money and couldn't withdraw, and then stories started happening. Summarily, I think that business collapsed with about 450 million naira of people's funds. I think from my own side in the US, they probably had over about 40, 50 million naira in it. And I know several people in Nigeria that also had money in there. So we lost money in the, so basically got to a point where the fish guy said, you know what, guys, I don't have your money. Give me some time and stuff like that. So we started investigating, and then we found that he had actually taken more money than he needed, which has made no sense, because then he could not use all the money for the fish feed. And apparently I started investing in Forex without knowledge. And at the point was even now using the money he was making from Forex to pay back. And when Forex was failing, he was now taking more money from people, and would take money from people who were coming in later to give to people who had been in there, which basically sounds similar to what we know these days as MMM, right? Our Ponzi schemes. So once that happened, we said, okay, you know what? We're going to put a pause on businesses that we're doing in Nigeria for now. We're going to go, reevaluate stuff. So we said, okay, fine. At least this one has failed. That was one of the good reasons of diversifying. Let us quickly go and collect our money from the diesel guy. At least that will make up. So we went to the diesel guy and said, okay, where is our money? And then stories started again. And he said this and this and this and that. We eventually found out that even though he had collected money from diesel, he had found this fish guy too, and without our knowledge, had taken our money from the diesel to put in the fish guy, who had put in Forex, and so now his own money too was stuck in there. So was putting our diesel money in fish to get 15, 16% and return 8% to us. And we were thinking it was in this. So eventually we lost money from both sides. But again, I learned a couple of lessons from there. The one is when you are not present in a business, your risks are increased, right? And especially when that business is not very transparent. Also, when there are promises of juicy returns, it is usually going to lead to price in the end. A lot of times, it's 30% per month, is 20%, is whatever. Again, eventually, it's going to get broken down because there are very few businesses can run sustainably on those profits. So some of the other lessons learned from that was, avoiding putting money into businesses where you would not be able to keep track of or supervise, either individually or by proxy, and just sit down, waiting for returns. And a lot of people in diaspora like this kind of businesses. We're just sitting down waiting for returns. I would say most times there are actually going to be problems at the end. And also, even from an entrepreneur perspective, is avoiding premature scaling, right? If all you have and need is 10 million naira to run these businesses, don't collect 20 million naira, don't collect 30 million naira, because that puts unnecessary pressure on you to scale before you are ready to scale, and then you start diverting money. And we'll talk later about it. So, but what that now led to was this. So once we got to that point and we had lost money, probably close to 50 million naira, we placed a pause, and there's several people on this call who were involved in one way or the other. So we tried EFCC, we tried everything, but at the end of the day, we didn't get any money back. And so I started thinking through my diaspora investment approach and saying, you know what, this was not going to work. So then next phase now happened in 2010. 2010, I happened to travel to Nigeria for a program. And then that was probably my first time of being back in about a while, physically on the ground. So allowed me to reassess things, to meet people, to see what was up. And this was May 2010, before you had all this tech boom, and there was no CC hub then. And there were only a couple of things around like Mobile Mondays. It was the beginning of talking about things tech. And so I came back from that trip and started thinking of, okay, in Houston, I'd been involved in technology scene. At that point in time, I was getting my MBA from Rice University. I set up a program called Next Cool Idea, where over 72 hours, people were coming up with business ideas. So I started thinking, could we replicate this back in Nigeria? Well, I realized, again, from the lessons from the first misadventure, I was not on the ground in Nigeria. And if I was not on the ground, trying to run something like that on the ground in Nigeria was going to be an issue. So I started thinking, okay, well, how do I do this? And so what eventually happened was I partnered with 3 other young men to get to my next stage of investing of businesses in Nigeria. And so we had a situation where there were 3 of us in the US, young men in oil and gas sector in Nigeria, in the US, and there was a young man in Nigeria who was the 4th of us. And we all joined together to form a partnership. And that was the next phase. And that was what led to Innovation Hub. Some of you have heard of Innovation. That was the idea behind Innovation. We took out the I from innovation and replaced it with a we, which meant collaboration. And that was how we formed Innovation Hub. And that was the next phase for me, partnering with others to actually run businesses in Nigeria, to invest in businesses. And we started in 2010 with Innovation Hub. And then over time that led, that's grown to the point where Innovation is now in 4 different cities in Nigeria: Lagos, Abuja, Kaduna, and Ibadan, and it's gone through partnerships in other areas. But that was really part of the start for me, about taking the lessons learned from the first, from the big swindle, to now work with other people, and also start looking at things, all things tech, and create an ecosystem around that. And that led to my concept of Afropreneurship, right? Basically saying, how do you build and enable and support African entrepreneurs to solve problems locally? So now became, instead of me trying to do businesses by myself, or just invest in here and there, how do we actually build teams? How do we create companies? How do we walk through others who are on the ground, but who are well mentored and supervised to actually build businesses, particularly tech-enabled businesses? And that was actually the concept of Afropreneurship, which is a word I created and trademarked till this day. I was just the concept of African entrepreneurs who are leveraging tech to solve problems back in their countries. And so that was a natural progression from innovation, right? And so that led to now identify entrepreneurs and investing in them. This was one of the young men is much bigger these days that we identified and invested in back then. Who was 19 years old then, and who had just finished university, was actually wrapping up a university in Canada. So was a diasporan. So he was at University of Waterloo in Canada. And like most diasporans, he was looking at going back home to Nigeria. And so we started talking about what was he going to do. He started bouncing different ideas with me. He would send me decks of different things. He started with something called a cheetah that was going to do around leadership training. There came some education for, and I was bouncing ideas back and forth with him. I was trying to invest and support him. And that's what from Fura actually morphed into Andela that a lot of people are now aware of today. So this journey started around 2012, 2013, when we first invested in Andela and supported its growth. And alhamdulillah, today has gone to where it is. And unfortunately, it's changing its business models. But again, we're pleased to have supported that. But again, that led us to looking for other young men and women to support. But again, the idea we had was still around the same vein of team effort, working with people and growing people to solve problems and of course to make money. And so if you notice, what changed, so there was a turning point there in 2010 when we went to the concept of innovation, right? But it was mostly focused on tech. But what happened was, at that point in time, it was still 3 of us partners in the US, 1 partner in Nigeria. But we started looking at, okay, fine, we have a foundation, we have something to work around, but we need to go to the next level, we need to scale, and that happened in 2015. So in 2015, we reversed the ratio. Instead of being 3 in the US, 1 in Nigeria, we reversed it to where you now add 3 in Nigeria and 1 in the US. So 2 of us moved, in quotes, back home to Nigeria to actually now scale upon the things we had been working. So they identified different opportunities over the first 5 years, 2010, 2015, that we now felt it was ready to scale. And we decided we're going to focus on 3 main areas. Technology, which had been doing since 2010, agriculture, which we were just getting into, and then healthcare, because we felt those were areas that we had competitive advantages. We understood some of the issues there, and we could bring in a lot to bear in those areas. And so therefore, this picture was taken, I think, 2017, when we were doing a 7th anniversary or something like that. Anyway, so that was the idea. And so, for instance, one of my partners is engineer Michael Luagbemi, used to be with ExxonMobil in Houston. Did his undergrad in Houston too, and his master's there. So it was one of the 4 partners. And 2015, he decided to move back to Abuja, and his own focus was going to be on agriculture. So this was in 2016 when we went to look for farmland around Kefi in Nasarawa, right? And so all you see here. So all you see here in this first picture here in the grass, the trees, all the forest, is what has been transformed down here, right? But again, what we did was decide we're going to go into agriculture, and we're going to focus on 2 parts there, grains and meat, right? And so today we have a situation where we have a large ranch of cows, and as of last year, we were supplying cows to ShopRite through Mastermeat. But then today, as we speak today we are opening our own meat outlet in Abuja. Last 2 weeks ago, we opened a meat outlet in Allen Avenue in Lagos. So today now we have a farm to table, right? From the point of where we actually go to the borders of Nigeria in the north and buy cows, very small. We'll bring them into our own ranch, and we fatten them over months, and then we now ship them out to our outlets where they are processed hygienically, and they are slaughtered and then sold. And now we actually now do home delivery to people in Lagos and Abuja. But that was a journey of about 4 or 5 years. And we now also plant maize, corn, and grass and hay, right? So again, but that's one of the things we do with that. But again, that's taking 4 or 5 years, and it's required first understanding the context, the opportunities, and then have one of us go on ground to actually champion that. So that's one. But again, so if I look at where we are now, so from 2010 that we started to where we model change in 2015, where two of us moved back to join the third person at home, we have been able to now cover a couple of investment areas. So we have the Innovation Hub, which is still very much involved in working with entrepreneurs to build businesses. You have a new idea as an undergraduate, as a professor, you come to us and we build a team around you to solve that. Or you have Lofty Allied Partners itself, that's the mother body that does a lot of consulting. Vetmas does a lot of the ranch and the farming. Pronov is a play in the healthcare space, online inventory management for pharmacies and for drug delivery. Lofty Capital Management is one of our newest units that focuses on investing, taking other people's money and helping them invest in the tech space. PID, which is around innovation consulting. Meeting Match, which is new, which is where we saw our meet. And Lime, this is focused on M&E, monitoring and evaluation for projects in Nigeria. So again, we cover the old gamut, and again, technology, healthcare, and agri are key for us there. And of course, over the past 10 years or so of doing this, we've been privileged to invest in about 30 African technology startups. Some of them are well known, things like Andela, things like Quintivo, Reliance HMO, Move, Bata Nigeria, some of our Abuab, Shifa. So again, about 30 of them are mostly in Nigeria, but of course, we're now expanded beyond that to West Africa and also some place in what's it called, in North Africa too. So based on all these lessons over the past 10 years, I think I cannot come up with identifying some of the challenges you will face, and also talk through some of the approaches that I think would optimize your chances of success. It doesn't mean you would succeed, but again, it gives you a better chance of succeeding. So the first thing you have to understand is that good intentions are not enough, right? It's not enough that you can, are a great guy, you're in Saudi, you're in the US, and you just think you want to invest in Nigeria and think everything will go well. Good intentions are not enough. So some of the challenges that are going to come up are issues around trust, right? Because a lot of people, they're like, okay, I know that person, you went to school together, was introduced to me in our church, in our mosque, in this group. And so a lot of people now go to engage in businesses based on just trust without executable legal binding documentation. So that's going to run you into issues. Another issue is, and I'll talk to some of how do you mitigate some of these things as I speak to in the next slide. But another issue you'll face is the issue of accountability among people, right? So accountability and poor management. Sometimes it's issue of trust because they are, in quote, bad people. But sometimes they're actually good people, but they are just poor managers. Not every educated person, not every one with a PhD, not everyone who read economics in school can manage well. And so people sometimes are just poor managers, right? And then also, there's sometimes you engage in businesses where the dynamics are only known to a few people, right? And so you think you are on the same business with them, but again, you don't understand the dynamics of the business and what it entails. Another issue is assumptions, right? You are assuming something, the other person is assuming something. You are assuming an investor, the other person thinks you're a donor. You are assuming a partner, he thinks you're a lender, right? So unspoken assumptions, right? The other issue is the issue of separation of funds. Right? A lot of people are used to mixing personal money with company money, with everything money, and so it just becomes very difficult for them to be able to account or to run businesses around that. And of course, you also have the unpredictable business climate in Nigeria. Like even when you have planned everything is, this, then Nigeria happens, right? And then you just have to manage it like that, right? Whether it's devaluation, where you have planned your businesses on something, and suddenly CBN insists it's not devaluing, or your money goes from 360 to 450, and all your assumptions go bad. Right? So there are all those things that are in there when you talk about doing business in Nigeria. But the question is now, how do you mitigate through all of this? Okay, at this point in time, I'm actually going to do a small quiz. I like to do this in my physical classes, but this is the first time I'm actually trying it in my online class. So I'm going to show something on the screen. I'm going to give you an exercise, and I want you to actually, I should have probably used a poll for this, but again, anyways, it's probably too late. Probably just type it in the chat box, right, since I don't have a poll set up for this. I'm going to show you a sentence, okay, and you're going to do a count for me of something in that sentence, and in the chat box, just type whatever your count is. I'm going to show you a sentence now. I'm going to have you do a count and just type in the chat box whatever your sentence is. I want to see some, just do an exercise around that. I'm going to show you the sentence and take it away, okay? So this is a sentence. I want you to count the number of F's to yourself, not to anyone else. Number of F's that you can count in that sentence, whether it's lowercase, uppercase, doesn't matter. Number of F's in that sentence. And then when I tell you, you're going to type it instantly in the chat box, and then we're going to do an exercise on that. So you have 5 seconds to study this. Okay, I think that's enough time to that. So you type it in the chat box. I want to see how many, what was your count? Keep typing. Yeah, well, I've been going to do this as a poll. So I mean, it's so interesting to do as a poll. Okay, I think I have enough data to go wide. So you look at the chat box yourself. Look at the numbers you are seeing. So let me see. You have, I can see 3. Some people saw 3 F's. I can see 5. I can see 4. I can see 6. Okay, 4, 3, 5, 3, 2, 5, 3, 5, 4, 6, 7, 4, 6, 7, 5, 6, 6, 3, 5, 4, 6, 7, 5, 6, 4, 3, 2, 6. Okay, 7. Okay, can you still make it a poll? Yeah. NCUPM, please make it a poll. Let's do that. I think like it's easier to quantify that way. Please make it a poll. Let's poll people. The poll is going to come up now. I want to see the number of people who saw. Start from 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 10. For instance, 1 to 10. Let's poll people and see what they got. And people like Eliasu that saw from 2 to 7. You need to buy new glasses. You have to see just one number. Where's the poll? All I can see here is, okay. Okay, where is the poll? Are you doing the poll? I can't see the poll. All I can see here is the poll.
Yes, I'm doing the poll. The poll will come up now.
Oh, it will come up now. Okay, cool. Okay, the answers are 4. Okay, good. So let's wait for the poll. I hope no one is bored yet. I know it's early morning for a lot of people in Nigeria, Saudi, but if I'm surviving, you'll survive. Okay, good. Yeah, let's do this. Now, time to poll. How many F's did you see? Everybody should vote. Okay, we still have 70 people to go. Someone's asking if I can show the sentence again. No, I cannot show it again. Just do the poll. You don't need to type it in. Okay, I think most people have voted. So 1% of people saw one. Okay, that's one person saw 1 Fs. 5 people saw 2. 21 people saw 3. 15 people saw 4. 31 people saw 5 Fs. 28 people saw 6 Fs. 4 people saw 7. Nobody saw 8. Nobody saw 9. 1 person saw 10. Okay, sorry, where is this? All these lines coming from? Okay, I have no idea. It's not from here.
This is the analysis of the previous poll.
Okay, cool. So
the one typed, this is the analysis of the one typed in the chat box.
Okay, so yeah, so 4, 16, 16, 33, 7, 4. Yeah. So okay, thank you. So what I wanted to show was this. So you can see the huge range. So some people, a small number of people saw 2 Fs. A large number, 16 people saw 3 Fs. 16 saw 4 Fs. 33 saw 5 Fs. 37 saw 6 Fs, and 4 people saw 7 Fs. So I showed you the same thing. What was, why? Why did this happen? And I've done this exercise in China. I've done it in the US. I've done it in Oxford. I've done it at LAUTECH. I've done it in a primary school in Abeokuta, at Bamboo Park School in Abeokuta, for kids in who are actually in 3rd grade. And the answer is always the same. It's always that variety of answers, no matter how smart people are, no matter how young people are. And so usually I ask people to wager their phone. So I did it recently in South Africa. And I said, basically, if you are so sure of your number of Fs that you saw, wager your phone, right? Put your phone down. And I had professors who put their phone down saying it was only 3 Fs. Some say it was only 4. Some say only 5. I'm like, there's no way all of it can be correct. So I'm definitely going on with the phone here. But anyways, I will show you again, and then we'll count again. And I'm sure if I ask people who saw 3, they're still going to insist right on that there are 3 Fs there, and the people who saw 4 and 5. So we're going to count again now. Okay. Okay. After this, we're going to do another poll again of what you saw. I'm not saying anything. I'm giving you a chance to count again. And then the admin, get ready for another poll. The same poll, but now afresh. I want to see how the results have changed. Okay, everybody has seen it now. Okay, now let's have another poll. You don't need to type it, just do the poll. My engineers are telling me we should have a bell curve, a normal distribution. Me, I've forgotten all that one in statistics. And unless the money, the revenue I'm getting is bell shape, that's the only thing I know now. Okay, so now let's look at the numbers this time. So if you compare the, actually, still have is widespread. Now we don't have any one F anymore. We still have 4 people who saw 2 Fs. We have 19 who saw 3 Fs. We have 11 who saw, okay, people are still voting. Okay, let me wait 1 moment. Okay, there are lines on the screen, which I have no idea where those lines are coming from.
Yeah, for the lines on the screen, you can clear them from your side. The annotate option.
Annotate option, where is that?
On the screen share.
Okay, on the screen share, let me see. Annotate.
Just above the screen share option. You can
I can see annotate. So what do I
erase.
Clear all drawings. Okay.
Yeah, clear all drawings.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's look at the poll now. Okay, so you can see we still have one person who had 1 F, 4 people who had 2, 19 people saw 3 Fs. 4 people saw 12, 29 people saw 5 Fs. 40% saw 6 now. That's grown from before it was 6 people. No, before it was 26 people or so. Now we have 46 people who saw 6 Fs. 3 people still saw 7 Fs, and 1 person still saw 8 Fs, and nobody saw 9 or 10. Very interesting. So the most interesting experiences I think were the ones on LoudTech and the one in South Africa. The one at LoudTech, it went all the way from 1 F to 12 F. And the one in South Africa, nobody saw the right answer. They saw the wide range, but nobody saw the right answer. So for people who are still putting answers there, now, Mr. Leasu, you still saw 4, Abi? And all the people who have PhD, who still saw the ones, all the old ones now. I'm going to withdraw your PhDs now. Anyway, so let's see what's there. So people who saw 1 F, let's start with you people. This is F. Let's read it together. Finished. That's F. That's 1. Files. That's already 2. So if you saw only 1, disqualify yourself already. Are the result of, that's your 3rd F. For those who only saw 2 Fs, disqualify yourself. Of yes, of, that's your 4th F. For those who only saw 3 Fs, disqualify yourself. Scientific, right? So that's 5 already. Study combined with the experience of prior years. So there are 6 Fs there. So for those who saw 1, 2, I don't know how you did that. For 3 Fs, I can explain what you did wrong. For those who saw 4, 5, maybe. Those who saw 7 and 8, I don't know where you're manufacturing the Fs from. So most people usually see 3, and that's because they don't spell it out. So they see finished, they see files, and they see scientific, and they don't see the offs. And that's because it's a mental thing. Just jump the offs there. I just see the big ones, right? And I usually do this, like I said, I've done this from people who have PhDs to people who are in 3rd grade, to people who are in private universities, to public universities, from Harvard to LoudTech. And it's the same thing. And it just brings out, 1, how we pay attention to things. Secondly, the assumptions, the unstated assumptions we make that go into whether we're investing, whether we're running businesses, whether we're part of a team, whether we're doing our PhD research. There are assumptions that we're not even aware we are making that influence our end results. And so it's very key to always be conscious that you're making assumptions, and which is where diversity comes to play. When you have a team that you're looking at things together, what you see will be different from what they see at times. And that is very key in ensuring success as an entrepreneur or as an investor. And I really like to do this because, again, having the diversity of opinions in the room makes sense. And it's also important for you to also always understand that there are things you might be missing in the picture. So there's no price. People are asking there's no price. Okay, anyway, so let's now go back. I hope everybody got the point there. So let's see. Okay, next slide. So the question is now, knowing all these issues, right, how do you increase your chances of success? So a couple of things from my personal experience, I don't have all the answers, right? But just from my experience over the past 10 years, I think one of the things is having eyes on the ground. It moves, and when I say eyes, not good eyes, right, on the ground, it moves your chances of success from almost nil to like 50%, right? It still doesn't get you to 100%, but it just changes things drastically. So if that person on the ground might be someone you know very well, it might not even have to be a family member, because sometimes family members for some people are even worse, right? I've asked stories of people sent home to their sisters or to build houses for them, and then they come back suddenly without telling them, and there's no house on the ground. And there was even a case that was out in Texas, and he said, "Auntie, me, where's all the money I spend?" And the auntie said, "If you're not, give me money, right?" She's not even denying that she spent the money. So again, so for you, it might be a family member, it might be a trusted person, it might be a partner. So we were looking at our case when we started. There were 4 of us, right? And there was one person on the ground who were doing very well. One of us went to primary school and secondary school with him, and their families were very connected. And so what happened was, those of us who were in the diaspora were funding things, and he was investing time and running things operationally within his capability. And we didn't scale until there were not 3 of us on the ground. But again, having someone on the ground increased our chances, right? And when you have someone like that, you have to ensure you take care of them very well. Otherwise, if you find shortcuts and you didn't take care of them very well, you might end up ruining your chances of success. But that's one thing I've seen, right? So, and that's what I call the importance of the we approach and collaborating with others. So again, I'm one of those people who believe in sharing the pie. I think bring other people to the table and grow the pie and share the pie. A lot of times you fail because you want to do everything by yourself, and you can't be everywhere. You don't have all the full knowledge and intricacies. So you can find good people to actually work with. It might reduce your own share of the pie, but it actually increases sometimes your chances of success. Then also another approach I see that work is what I call a portfolio or diversification approach. Right, so where you actually, if you can be on the ground, you're working through others, diversify the chances of success, invest in a few different things that you understand very well. Or if there are existing structures that are trusted, whether they are companies or whatever, that are trusted, legally trusted, that you can invest in, and they fit your ethical or religious guidelines, and then even if you miss making less money, then it might just be safer for you to protect your money until you have something you can do by yourself. Also, understanding your own risk tolerance, right? If you're the person who a small loss would affect mentally and everything, don't go and do kalo with money, right? So understand your own risk tolerance. People's risk tolerances differ at different stages of their life, at different pay size, pay brackets. So don't because Ogali Asu, who is a big man, is doing this, you now say Idris Bello, who is just a poor farmer somewhere, is never going to do this. Again, you have to understand your own risk tolerance and what you can play with. So then also, our next one is very important for me. A lot of times people in diaspora are struggling, their families are not enjoying well, they can't even send their kids to the best schools, and yet they are sending money home to Nigeria to build houses that they may never live in for the next 10 years. I do not subscribe to that. I think the first thing you invest in is in your own immediate family. Your kids, give them the greatest chance of success. If it is madrasa that they should go to, if it is good schools, it is lesson teacher, your family, let them live comfortably. Like they say, it is what the bird has eaten and the bird will fly with. That house you are building in Nigeria, you don't know that you're even going to live there. When you even get to Nigeria, that place might not suit you anymore, or your money might disappear. So before you do that, take care of your immediate family where you are, right? So ensure they are living good. Don't be living in one-bedroom apartment in Saudi or in Houston or in California, and then be building a mansion in Nigeria and punishing yourself for the next 10 years. And then people, complain, some people are mismanaging the house and stuff like that. First, be comfortable. I think that's very important. At least that's what I subscribe to before you now use extras to say you are investing. So that's key. Then whenever you do processes, and I will talk about this later, processes, legal, admin, accounting are very important. Also, some of the factors that increase your chances of success are domain knowledge. Go to areas where you have competitive advantage, where you understand the terrain, where you understand the issues right there, as because of your past experiences. It's very important. Then avoid glitter and me too, and I'll talk expansion on this later. A lot of times when people get burnt, the signs were always there. When someone says you can make double your money every month, you are going to lose money. When they say you can give you 30%, and I see this a lot of times, someone will come to me with this specific idea, and they say it will make 60% every month, and something like that. And sometimes you're not even a deceptive person, but just does not understand business. And there's no way you can sustainably run 99% of business like that, where you're giving 60% and making 60% profit every month, right? What usually happens is people don't understand the cyclical nature of business, and I'll talk about this, right? So let's say you're doing palm kernel business, and maybe the boom time is April, and that's when you hear one of your friends went to the business. So you see him making a lot of money, and you should push money there at the end of April. Makeups, you are making money. June, it starts going down. July, August, you lose money for the rest of the year, and you start wondering what's happening. Because you did not understand that business or the seasonality of it or the cyclical nature of it. So I see a lot of these entrepreneurs, they go around, especially in the agri space, they run the business for 1 month, they make a lot of money. They think the opportunity is there. Then they go and collect investor money. And then when the investor money comes in, it comes in June, July, and then the season changes, and then all the money is gone. And they're wondering, actually, we were making money before. So again, avoid glitter, avoid Me Too opportunities. So people ask, where do you put money? So you're going to do business in Nigeria. What are the opportunities? So this, what I have on the screen is different from what I'm going to say, right? So what I have on the screen was just looking at the data over the past 4 years, pre-COVID, right, in Nigeria, based on National Bureau of Statistics, which sectors contributed to overall economic growth. And it was telecoms, right? So the big boys, MTN and co. It was agriculture, funny enough. I was crude oil, petroleum, but then road transport and food, and the others, were really down, right? But for me, there's some areas I love, pre-COVID, post-COVID, right? And some of them are agriculture. But again, agriculture is a wide value chain. It's not about picking where you add the most value, where you can optimize the most along the value chain, and not just jump, because everybody's now having a farm, you jump into farming. Everybody has a poultry, you jump into poultry. Everybody is rearing snails, you jump into snails, right? So for me, it's about understanding the value chain and seeing where you started, you are best at. So when we started at Vetmans with the agri space, we decided we're going to do cattle fattening. That was what we started initially. We didn't bother about slaughtering, we didn't bother about the meat, we didn't bother about farming. We basically had a source that could provide us with lean cattle imported or brought in from the mountains in Taraba and co. And we brought them to our own farm. Because if you understand the cattle dynamics in Nigeria, most cattle is not bred in Nigeria. There are very few places where you breed cattle in Nigeria. Most cattle is actually walked in across the border into Nigeria, and then they walk there until they get into Lagos, where they're looking malnourished, lean, and that's what leads to a lot of the crises. The farmers had that crisis, right? And so they have lost taste. They are very expensive. They are lean. They are tough. Again. So we said we're going to tackle that problem. So we'd truck them from the borders to our farm to our ranch in Abuja, where we'll fatten them over a couple of months, and then we'll now truck them to Kenya at Master Meat, where we'll supply them, and they will be weighed, and they will be sold to Master Meat, who was supplying them to to ShopRite. But over time, as we started doing this, started understanding the dynamics in this space, started seeing how much we were spending on buying feed for and these are grass-fed for our animals. And we said, okay, you know what? Why don't we get adjoining pieces of land and start planting grass? Got to a point where we're actually making more money from planting grass and actually the cattle themselves, right? and then people now come and buy the grass. Because the point is a farm can plant maize, and then and other things started entering. Then because the point where, okay, we had someone who had a slaughter lab that would actually rent usage ads. And it got to a point now where we understand the dynamics enough to say, you know what, we can actually set up our own meeting mart in Abuja and Lagos, where actually we can truck our animals to, can be slaughtered hygienically and processed and packaged. And we understand logistics enough, we can actually deliver them to people at home who order them online on our websites. Again, but we didn't jump to all this, right? It was khotowa, right? So step by step, right, to get to that. And so it's understanding where in the value chain you add most value and where is it easy for you to get in, minimize your risk, and optimize your chances of success. So agriculture is great for me, right? It's key for me, and food. And we've seen this in the past 2-3 years, regardless of where you stand on whether the president of Nigeria should have banned food import or not. With COVID, we have seen that we were better prepared than we would have been. And if we can survive 4 or 5 months without imports, it shows that there's a lot we can still do in Nigeria locally, right? So food is key for me. Tech, I'm a lover of tech, and I'll speak a little bit later about tech opportunities in tech investments. But tech is great for me. If you understand it, or you have someone you trust who understands it. Education, right? So education is always going to be key. It's not about where do you add the most value? Is it in primary school? Is it in secondary school? Is it in tutoring? You know, little things like that. So for instance, look at that tutoring space alone. There are companies that are making huge money from just tutoring, right? There's a company we invested in Jordan, Abuab, that now provides online education to over 2 million people across Egypt and Jordan. Again, it's about finding that space. Universities, for instance, I still think there are not enough good private universities in Nigeria. There are opportunities in that space too. So across the education space, in research, there's a lot. Healthcare, and healthcare goes from vaccine research to oxygen to everything, again, to hospitals. And so there's a lot in the healthcare space. There's light manufacturing, as we've seen. So I was involved in some light manufacturing during COVID. Again, I've seen the opportunities in that space too. So, but again, particularly for those of you in Saudi, I think the key thing is understanding what are your areas of competitive advantage. Are there things by virtue of being in Saudi that you're able to understand that sell between Saudi and Nigeria? Someone was asking me recently, that person had lived in Nigeria when they were going up. They're not Nigerian. They live now in the US. And they were saying when they go to the store in the US, they see mangoes from Ivory Coast. They see mangoes from Egypt. But when they're growing up in Nigeria, the best mangoes they ever had were from Nigeria. Why can't they find mangoes, Nigerian mangoes, where they are? So again, is understanding that dynamic. Okay, fine. What are the opportunities where between Saudi and Nigeria? What are the things that people in Nigeria need that are in Saudi, or vice versa? What are things that can optimize, can access here by virtue of being a PhD guy at KFU PM? Are there new researches in concrete that can actually now go optimize and meet a Dangote back home or meet whoever back home and build a business around? What are the areas around which I have domain knowledge, networks I have that can optimize? What everybody is doing, cattle farming does not mean you have to go back and do cattle farming, or you have to go back and sell this one. Again, it's about identifying where do I add the most value, right? Where do I understand, where do I want to play? So for instance, last year I was in Abuja and I met a guy who all he does is export cassava flakes to Germany. He doesn't even sell anything in Nigeria. He goes all around Shaki, all around Oyo State, all where people have a lot of cassava that's been planted, everybody plants the same thing, there's no storage, and it goes to waste. He buys it in bulk, he processes it into cassava flakes and cassava noodles, and he exports it straight to Germany. He doesn't even sell anything in Nigeria. It's a huge business. I think it's called cassavanova.com or something like that, right? So again, so there are opportunities like that that people, you have to identify and play to. So I think that's key. And then in all of this, I think that will be bold moves. And I'll speak about this shortly later. You can't spend 5-10 years in diaspora and still come back home and still be doing things, the same things everybody at home is doing, the same way they are doing. There has to be a difference. There has to be something you bring back because of your network, because of your exposure that allows you to be able to do things differently, or the size and scale of problem that you solve. If you're after 10, 15 years of getting a PhD and living outside, you are still going to come back and do just the same things. I don't see a lot of value to that. I think we need to be bold. If you look at stories of India and China, the people who have turned things around for them are the diaspora, the diasporans, right? So it is not enough that we're just sending $500, $100 home to people at home. We have to come in and solve big problems with entrepreneurship with businesses. Okay, yeah. So like I said earlier, I've lost my own fair share of money to bad investments. Some of them, for some of the reasons I've stated, and I'm still losing money even within COVID period. Probably lost a huge amount of money to some of the things we try to do during this period too. But it's part of the learning cycle, and that's why I say it. And so usually when people see Adela in the business, in the news, they see some of the successes we have had with Flutter with other things. They don't see all what is behind these things. They don't. So, and like they say, the path to success is never a straight line, right? And so there are going to be dips, there are going to be learnings, and it's about picking up your learnings and rising again, and not falling into the same hole twice. And I think that's going to be very key. So, what are the lessons learned? I think there's about 8 lessons I want to share based on my experience over the past 10 years. What are the lessons learned that I think should be applied to increase your chances of success? Number one that I found is communication. Either you are the entrepreneur or the investor, you cannot over-communicate. You have to communicate. Don't assume. A lot of times, as an entrepreneur, you have received money from someone abroad to do a business, and you assume you're not communicated clearly what you're trying to do. And so you assume, well, it's my brother, I will understand. Even your blood brother, I will not understand. Be very clear to him. This are the steps taken. This is what is involved. This is what we do. And I like to put things in writing as soon as possible. For instance, if my wife gets $5 from me today, you will find it on my Google Sheets. If she gives me $25 tomorrow, it's going to be there on my Google Sheets. Everything, my kids always say, everything in my life is on Google Sheets. Right? And I just found it a very convenient way to do things. I don't trust my memory, right? Because you will lead to arguments in the future about, okay, fine, this will happen, this will not happen. I reduce it to writing. Like they used to say when I was at Procter & Gamble, if it is not written, it's not done. So build that habit of putting things down in writing. And with Google Docs these days, you can put it down and the other person can see it, you can share again and have access to it regardless of where your laptop is. Right, so please, either you are the investor or entrepreneur, put everything down in writing between your agreement, your discussion, the prices, things like that, how much you borrowed, how much you lent, how much you invested, everything is there in my spreadsheets, right? And I encourage people to actually do this. Even my kids now, when I tell them, okay, what are your plans for tomorrow? They want to start listening to me. Go and put in the spreadsheet and share it with me on there. So it's there. So you can't argue with me and say, Daddy, you forgot this one or that one. Put it there on the spread on the Google Doc, and it's there for eternity. So that's the first thing. Communicate. So whether you are the one investing, your investing preferences, when you want to earn your money, what you are willing to be done, when you're not willing to be done, please put it down. Second one is sticking to your words and fulfilling your promises. So, and this is more particular to those who are entrepreneurs. You're going to raise funds from other people, whether in diaspora or at home. It is very important. While most businesses go bad, is because people go beyond what was agreed on. If I give you money to do palm kernel, don't go and use it to do kerosene. If I give you money to invest in fish feed, don't go and use it for diesel. So stick to your word. If you're going to find another opportunity, come back and tell me and get my blessing. I'm assured of that, right? Don't just assume because it's a better thing. Right? Unless I've given you the leeway to do whatever you can with the money, and that's also be clearly stated, right? And also on other days, remember that running a business is not for everyone. Again, I say that running a business is not meant for everyone. Running a business with other people's money is even meant for fewer people. So let's say running a business is meant for 10 people. Now, running a business with other people's money is probably meant for 5 people. So it's not even meant for fewer folks. And regardless of how serious you are, how religious you are, the market is no respecter of your religiosity. When the market goes south, it goes south. So even if you are trustworthy and all that, if you're not cut out for business, you're not the kind of person who is solid, who understands that area, then venture into it only with your money. So go and learn with your money. Go and take a risk and practice, understand the cyclicality and the seasonality and everything with your own money. So if you're going to lose, use your own shirt before you now come back to investors to ask for money. Don't take investors' money to go and do the learning, because it will end with tears, in tears. And what might get spoiled might be more than even the money, right? The friendship might be gone, right? So very key to learn and try things with your money and understand before you start taking other people's money. Also, still related to the same point is, after knowing that not everyone can be an entrepreneur, it's also key that even you are an entrepreneur, you operate within your limits and seek help if things go beyond your limits. So what do I mean? The fact that you can run a business of 1,000 naira does not mean that you can run a business with 100,000 naira. Does not mean that you have the capability to run a business with 1 million naira. So if it's going beyond your limits, be very open and seek for help. There's a reason why at companies, they change CEOs over time as they grow. So don't think because you started a business, you have to be the one to run it to the end. Also, as an investor, very key to understand where you're putting money. Do your own feasibility study, do your own prayer, divine guidance, whether it's the Khara or whatever you want to do, whatever works for you, and pray about your businesses. Also, do your due diligence before you contract business. There are people today that I know, I love them very much. I am my good friends, either religiously or academically, but I will never give money to do business with. There are some people that today, if I hear that I'm part of a business, that I will not put money in it. They are good people, but I just have no for one reason or the other, either they don't keep records or they have mismanaged money in the past, and stuff like that. So I will not put money there. So I will separate that friendship from that business enterprise. So always ask around. Most defaulters have a history of doing so. So a lot of times, because we did not ask, I will just assume. So if someone has defaulted once, twice, thrice, then when you're putting money in there, you need to know what you're putting yourself into. Right? So it's very important. So again, then the fourth point, I mentioned this earlier, not everything that glitters is gold. Don't just rush into any business. Take time to study the business. And that is important for both the entrepreneur and also you as an investor, right? Understand the seasonality of businesses, the cyclic nature of businesses. Don't jump into any and every business because people say it is profitable. There was a video I watched yesterday on Twitter around face shields. So one of the businesses I did during COVID was, there was this young group of people who were manufacturing face shields using 3D. And we invested in them and supported them to actually mass produce that. The business side is another thing, but actually in the manufacturing, we were able to get that done. But I was now watching a video yesterday that spoke about how the market for face shields was spoiled. So apparently, like everything in Nigeria, when someone hears that they are selling pure water, everybody jumps into selling pure water. So people heard that they were selling face shields, everyone started jumping into it. So he was not giving his own experience. Apparently, because everybody was jumping into face sheets, he went to buy 400 face sheets. He struggled and he could not sell it. So what did he do? He now collaborated with some other people. They went on Nairaland or one of those sites, and they put in there that someone put it there that I'm selling 30,000 face sheets. Another person put it there, I want to buy 40,000 face shields. And so people started seeing all that traffic up and down. And so if you're watching from afar, you think this face shield is moving. And so they put their phone numbers there. You now call them and you say, you know what, I want to buy face sheets. And they say, I'm almost sold out. I only have 300 left. And so you now buy the 300 from him or the 350 from him. And it's now your own problem. I cannot sell it. And he has to make his own money. So Nigeria, you have to be very careful. Not all that glitters is gold, right? And so understand the businesses very well, understand the market very well before you jump into them. And when someone comes to you and promises you a business that will return 30% returns to you monthly, 99% of the time it is going to fail. Something is wrong. Even if they are good-natured people, after a month or two, it's going to go down. So please be very careful. I spoke earlier about businesses outgrowing the competency of their initial founders. So this brings the need to constantly improve and to seek and use appropriate professionals. Don't cut corners. In a lot of businesses that I've been involved in where we lost money, it was mostly because the founder refused to pay for the services of an accountant, right? And thought he could just manage things himself. accountants are very important. If you don't pay for them in cash, you'll pay by losses. So please, very important, and I see this to our young brothers, our young sisters who are running businesses, unless you're an accountant yourself, leverage people who have that skill. Pay for it. Don't cut corners because it will come back to bite you, right? So understand your own limitations. The fact that you can sell a few books does not mean that you can run a bookshop. The fact that you can run a single shop does not mean you can run many branches. What it takes to supply 1 ton of granite is different from what it takes to supply 30 tons. So you need to understand this. Then when you collect funds from people, accountability and transparency with funds is very key. Even when you take money from family members, be accountable to them, be transparent to them, because the money collected from them might not even be their own personal money. It might be money they are collected from their friends. It's not your brother's money. Please be transparent and accountable. So very, very, very key. And especially when you start taking outside money, be very, very clear about the transparent, about the accounting, right? Pay for someone to track it for you. When other people's money are involved, there's a huge trust on you. And don't mix it with your personal money. Because what usually happens is this: you have someone else's money with you for this business. Then your brother, your sister, or your cousin comes, or your friend comes, and he has a problem. He has a medical issue. He has his car has broken, and he now says, "Can you borrow me for? Can you borrow me for that money?" He now lend in some of that money, and then he fails to bring it back, and then you just get yourself into this vicious cycle, where you now start taking money from another business, put it in Ben's business, put it in Agri, put it here, and just all becomes modeled up. And at the beginning, you didn't start with a bad intention, but because you did not follow the simple basic principles, you find yourself in this. And I've seen this very religious people, right? Once you start modeling money up, it's going to just end up in tears. Then start small and learn. Don't just jump into businesses like that. Right? Keep your losses low. If as an investor, if it's possible to pay in tranches, don't just pay everything at once. Pay in tranches and track where your money is going. I usually tell investees that my first law of doing business is capital preservation. Even if you don't make me profit, can you ensure I get my capital back? All I would have lost is time and time value of money, but get me my capital back. So don't throw good money after bad money. I've invested in you. Business, you promised me 5% returns, or between this range and this range, right? And it's not getting to that stuff. If business is not flowing, if we're trying to be buying cashew and cashew is not coming in, let me know. Give me my capital back. Don't go and now start doing mango that I don't know anything about. So my first law of doing business is capital preservation. I don't throw good money after bad money. So I'm fine with losing money, but I want to see the effort. I want to see that you're causing losses. You're not just gambling with my capital. So the moment as an entrepreneur, that you feel the invested capital is not safe, it is your job to return it to me. And because at that point in time, I'm more about returning capital and less about about my returns. So these are some of the lessons I wanted to share on that. So moving forward, the question is now you've had all of this. What does all of this mean for you? What does all of this mean for you, either as an entrepreneur in diaspora, as a builder in diaspora, as an investor in diaspora, as someone who's just in this whole scene? What does all of this mean for you? And particularly because of the education you have had, the exposure you have had, the next couple of slides are going to be slides that challenge you. Because the way I'm looking at you on this audience is different from the way I look at someone who has never been out of Nigeria, for instance, or who has never had an education. By virtue of your advanced education, of your exposure, of your networks, there are things that history, that humanity demands of you, that you do not play small. It is predicted that in 10 years, 40% of the Fortune 500 companies that we know today will no longer exist, as things that were once scarce become abundant. And we've seen this with 3D printing, with AI, with different things. Economies are changing, industries are changing. And so the question is, how do you partake? And the amazing thing is that When you go to universities outside of Nigeria, we go to industries of Nigeria, you see Nigerians play a huge role, whether it's in Saudi or the US. Nigerians are at the forefront of research of this business or that business. Well, it doesn't translate. You see Nigerians, when they want to do business back in Nigeria, they're still doing these normal businesses. They're still doing all the kata businesses. They're not innovating. So COVID has come up. You see Nigerians who are leading science elsewhere, who are leading research in Saudi and Co. What are they doing differently to optimize and take advantage of opportunities that are there? So we are going to wait for the same vaccines to come from the US or from Egypt or from the UK, made by folks who probably went to school with, who were probably our classmates, right? So the question is, what are we going to do different to tap into the what we call the abundant future? Now, when you now understand that COVID itself actually now even allowed us to press a reset button globally, where people are now looking at supply chains differently. They are looking at this, the field of education has changed. What was happening before is not different from now. Field of manufacturing is changing. People are looking at different opportunities, supply chains, healthcare, agri, and saying what's going to be different going forward. The question is now, how do we tap into these things? Now, the CEO of Microsoft said, he said, we have seen 2 years worth of digital transformation in just 2 months. So there's a new normal. There's no going back to the old normal. The question is now, as entrepreneurs, what are you going to do differently? I'm a part of a school called, a university called Singularity University. And I'm a fellow there. And one of the things we get challenged at and innovate around is, how will you positively impact 1 billion people? What is that idea of yours that you have that can change life for 1 billion people, can impact 1 billion people, whether it's in agriculture, in healthcare, in whatever sphere of their lives? And these are the kind of dreams that move the needle that we need to think of. Like Albert Einstein said, he said, and this is called off, he said, we shall require a substantially new manner of thinking if mankind is to survive. And that is key. And that behoves each and every one of us on this call, saying, how do we solve the problems that we're going to face in the future? And problems are going to range from the issue of global warming, which we have seen some of the effects, disease, and we've seen that even with COVID, look at how COVID has upended the world, right? I need to travel a lot. For the past 5 months, I've been stuck in just one place, right? Population increase, poverty is on the increase, right? Issues around sanitation, issues around illiteracy, malnutrition, water. How are you going to solve these big problems? And the process, make money from it, right? But again, the question is, how do you solve this problem? And I think that is going to be key for us going forward. And we like to say Africa is the future, right? But the question is, who's building that future? Is it that being built for you, or are you going to be part of the builders of that future? Just yesterday in the news, they were predicting that in under 80 years, you're going to have a situation where in Europe and the US, population is getting halved, like in Spain, but Nigeria is going to double. But that population is either going to become a benefit, a boon, or it's going to become a burden. And you and I have roles to play there. If we like to educate our kids and refuse to create avenues to educate other kids, or to make the society more equitable, or to create opportunities, jobs for these young people, what's going to end up happening is we're going to have 1 million boys all over the place. We're going to have all these gangs, even in calm areas like Ede, right, where you're not hearing of gangs and the rest, right? Because we've not created opportunities for them. And it's those of us who are educated, who have this exposure, these networks, that we have the responsibility of creating those opportunities, right? And so what it means is that we have to think and act big. So there's COVID. Are you going to spend time on Twitter and everything, just abusing NCDC, abusing government, abusing everything, and not thinking of what did you do to solve a problem around COVID? And for the past 1 week, I've been involved with a couple of young people, some of them, all of them Nigerians, by the way, who are looking at the oxygen shortage in Nigeria and thinking, how do we solve this oxygen shortage? Just this week, they put together with Professor Musa Ibino, who I don't know whether he's on this call, working with some other people, who are now thinking of how do we create portable oxygen concentrators so that all our hospitals do not have to struggle from lack of oxygen. Oxygen is something you can convert easily from the air, right? But today, we have just probably 1 or 2 plants in Nigeria, and People are dying because of lack of oxygen. And that was even a pre-COVID issue. Now, post-COVID is still there. So the question is, these problems are not going to solve themselves. It is entrepreneurs, it is engineers, it is people like you and I who are going to solve these problems and also hopefully make money from it. Vaccines, right? New tests, right? Foods, in terms of food, what are we going to do differently? We still complain right now about food wastage. Over half of harvests still go to waste in Nigeria. And yet we have thousands of engineers. What are we doing around food storage, around food protection? If, for instance, you go towards the Oshaki area, there's a lot of cassava that goes to waste, a lot of planting that goes to waste. If someone were to set up there, right, and around food storage, around refrigeration units that use solar, right? You have to think of different ways to preserve waste. Don't just go there and go and start your own cassava farm again and just contribute to the waste. What are you going to do differently, right? In this area of energy, right? What are we going to do differently? In the area of education, you have millions of people who are out of school. ASU has not been able to teach it for the past couple of months. What are we going to do differently and innovate in these areas where we make money but we also solve problems? Area of security, right? These are issues and areas I think we need to innovate and we need to create business around, not just selling pure water there. So to round up, how can we be of help? How can I be of help to you? For those of you who have businesses or business ideas, whether you are professors, you are entrepreneurs, whatever you are, and you're trying to do back home, and you either want to come back home and need a place to work out of, or you need a team to be built, or you're even remote, you have the idea, but you want a team on the ground to implement those ideas. That's what we do for you at Innovation Hub. You can reach out at the Innovation Hub. I can talk to some of your ideas and advise you of what's happening in that space and the rest. So that's one. Well, maybe you are an investor, right? You have extra cash and you're thinking, where do I put money? Some of those of you on the call invested with us last year. Lofty In Capital Management is a VC fund that invests solely in the tech sector in Nigeria. And we focus on West Africa, where we invest very early on in early stage companies. Our investment strategy is very easy. We have a pipeline of local and diaspora teams. Some of them are local teams that live in the country. Some of them are teams who are from outside, but have seen an opportunity, they've seen something work elsewhere that they want to implement in Nigeria. And what we do is identify them and support them. And then we focus on revenue generating companies who have either passed through our hub or who have done their own proof of concept. They have an MVP that they can go to market with, and we support them with investments ranging from $100,000 to $3 million for rapid growth, and prepare them for later stage capital by helping them improve their governance, their strategies, and their revenue. Some of you might know some of our fund advisors, people like Nei Yusuf, people like Kamal Bakrin, Yvonne, and a few other people. Over the past couple of years, some of the companies we have invested in, Flutterwave, we're very honored to Flutterwave, both at the seed stage and also later at the Series A. And Flutterwave does payment infrastructure. We've also invested in Pointivo, which is online on-demand printing. Reliance HMO, which started with Telemed, but also into health insurance HMO. And of course, in the energy space, downstream space, we work with some of your companies here around automating your pumps in your gas stations to reduce leakages for drivers, leakages for station owners. We've also invested in U-Verify, which does identity verification and compliance for KYC for different companies. And then we're in the process of completing 3 investments now. Some of them in, one of them in the power IoT space, another one in healthcare and molecular diagnostics, and another one in the agri space. So how can you participate? We had a fund which we closed. We closed our fund in February, March this year. That fund, basically the way the fund works is we take a minimum of $25,000, you invest it, and then we have the leeway of investing it in any company that fits a criteria that we choose. And the idea is the funds are invested for about 5 to 7 years. And then when there's an opportunity for us to exit, we exit and we turn part of the funds and hopefully the profit back. So these are long-term investments. One thing we also do is what we call syndicated investments. Since the fundraise has closed, what we do right now is what we call syndicates. So if there's something we're investing in, for instance, in the healthcare space, and we're going to put in our money from the fund, we can, for those who are interested, we'll share with you. If you're interested in going along with us, you also invest your own money under our vehicle, and we don't charge you a fee, but if the investment succeeds and you make a profit, we take 10% carry, 10% of the profit when you exit. So we call them syndicated investments. And those opportunities are also open. So again, as an investor, there are opportunities for you to play with us. And as an entrepreneur too, there are opportunities for you to speak with us. So I think I've spoken more than usual. I've probably spoken for about 90 minutes now. So thank you very much for listening. That's my blog, which I try to update from time to time. And then I think that's my Twitter handle. I've not tweeted for a while, but I am active there. And my email is, I think it was provided earlier, but basically, Idris.Bello. Okay, that's it. Idris.Bello@afropreneur.net. So thank you very much. At this point, I think I would hand over to the panelists and the admin. So I hope you have benefited. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Idris. It's really been an engaging and insightful session. At this junction, I'd like to call on the panelists to quickly move straight to the panel session so we can maximize time. So, Dr. Said.
Thank you, our guest speaker, Mr. Bello. It was a very nice walkthrough, really enriching. I have a couple of questions. I'm a panelist representing the entrepreneurs. So first of all, what do you think are good tips you can suggest for diasporan entrepreneurs? Of course, we have got you well, that you say we need to have component back at home. We cannot not just stay offshore and expect money to be coming in. Okay, now we have money component at home. What are the tips you can suggest to prevent money leakage from businesses in general? Money leakage is something very key. What are the tips you can suggest? That's number one. Number two, what are the good sources of data? Yeah, you said we have to do our due diligence before we start investing in a new space. So what do you suggest are good sources of data we can leverage on to get some preliminary ideas about any space, so that we can really, for example, recently you shared with us one statistics showing the growing sectors of the economy. This is something very important, but I'm sure there are other components of data which we need to also use to do our diligence. So what are the good sources of data? And finally, let me put everything together. You mentioned about paying for an accountant, okay? But still, I want to think about that as being difficult for a new starter who has a small business. I'm sure there will be a way to do your accounting leveraging on software app, accounting app, in which you simply need to key in some transactions and it will do the abracadabra for you without being an accountant. Do you have an idea of good accounting apps we can use as new entrepreneurs who is yet to reach the stage of hiring a full-fledged accountant? Thank you.
Okay, I think I'll go ahead and take some of those questions. All right, so the first question was about preventing money leakage. So let me tell you the bitter truth. If you are not on the ground running your business yourself, there's no way to prevent 100% money leakage. It's that simple. It's what they call it in economics. You chose to focus on something else, and that's fine. You're busy with your work elsewhere, you're busy with your education and stuff like that. So any reason you're not supervising yourself, because even you're supervising yourself, there's still leakage, right? So talk less of you're not on the ground. So I think for me, it's now about what percentage are you okay with leaking, right? The day you decide you want to do a business remotely, you already agree that there's still going to be some money leaking. Right? The question is now about what percentage is going to leak, right? And I think part of the issue for me is one, ensuring documentation, right? Also, segregation of duties if possible, right? So where's the money coming in? Do you have access to transactions being done, to the bank account, to what's going out? What are the checks and procedures in place before money goes out, before money goes in, right? Who has access to be able to withdraw money and who has access to be able to put in money? When I look at some of the things we've lost money in the past, is because we institute enough processes. Again, even with enough processes, you still lose money in a lot of times. So, but it's about what percentage and ensuring that you have done your own best. I think that's for me, that's it. Like, and also that you have someone who's also acting like a check and balance on the entrepreneur if you're an investor, right? So that you get regular reports. So you don't want to wait on the money before you find out that the business has gone bad. Once there are signs that the business is going bad, right, there should be a way you track and you reduce your what leaks out. So I think about being proactive in that space, all right. So let's talk about DGS. NBS is trying these days, right? So when the National Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, led by Dr. Kale, they're doing a good job. Right? So the general regular report provided about the industry, about different industries, about things. So I think there's a lot of data there. Because we actually investing, a lot of what you actually need due diligence on is actually the people. People form the largest part of what we're investing in, right? The integrity of people, their knowledge. And a lot of times it has to be done the old way of through your networks. Who knows this guy, who knows this guy, right? And again, and that's what we usually do. So even for investment, and the first thing I go to is I look at the team makeup, and I look at the advisors. I'm saying who's connected to them that I know. Who do I know this? Who went to school with them? What schools did they want to go to? This one says he worked at Procter & Gamble. And I'm really, was he at KFU PM?
I think we lost the speaker.
We lost the speaker.
I don't know what happened. Hello, hello?
Yeah. Now he's back. He's back now. Good.
Okay. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it's back.
So people are saying my data finished. Sorry, I use unlimited. So you can send money for that. Anyway, so as I was saying, due diligence, a lot of times it still has to be done through the old way, through your networks, right? So I think that's what I found very useful when doing that. So then, what was the third question? Let's see. Yes, pay for accountants.
Accounting app.
Yeah, I don't mean you have to pay for an individual. A lot of times in the beginning, you cannot afford and you should not waste money on accountants, a full-time accountant. But one, there are people who provide virtual accounting services, where you just you have accounting hub, you have accountier. You have people who, first time we even say something as simple as spreadsheets. So when you come to me, I want something to invest. I ask you, how long have you been running this business? And I say you're running for 6 months. And I say, show me the records. I can't even show me a spreadsheet of we sold this, we bought this, we did this. Then I'm not investing. It's all in your head. So something as simple as that, show me the record for the past 3 months, the past 6 months. Because even if you have if you have a virtual accountant too, it's going to ask you to put everything down, and then maybe monthly comes in and runs through your numbers and stuff like that, right? So again, so it's very key to have, and then tools, let's say the QuickBooks, but very least start from a spreadsheet, but over time, it's going to get complicated. So you don't have to have an accountant full-time in-house. There are different people who offer services, and there are people who are working remotely that can help with some of your accounting procedures. So again, if you need recommendations, I can probably recommend. But I just think it's important that tracking things, accounting things, putting things down on paper. It just has to start. So I think that's probably talks to your question.
Thank you so much. Really helpful and very comprehensive. Thank you so much once more. Other panelists, please come on board, please.
Okay, thank you to the guest speaker. I'm here representing the, maybe I should call the small boys, the innovators. And quite glad for the presentation. You answered one of my important questions, and that is that what should we be building pre and post COVID? That COVID itself has actually thrown up some challenges, and you actually answer some of these. Then I'll quickly just ask some other questions. Number one is for most startups, especially in Nigeria and elsewhere, we find out that growth and profitability seems to be mutually exclusive. So how do you think startups, either tech or tech-enabled startups, can actually achieve both growth and profitability without they not necessarily being mutually exclusive? And then the other one is regulatory challenges has always been issues in Nigeria. And the case of Lagos ban on Okada is a case in point for the likes of Marx, Okada, and sorry for the departed soul of Fahim, and other in that sector. That how do you think innovators, even entrepreneurs and investors, can actually deal with these regulatory issues in Nigeria? Because possibly you saw an opportunity, you start, and before you know, everything is. Then another thing is that for many diaspora returnees, we've seen they are at the forefront of startup ecosystem in Nigeria. And for example, we've seen someone like Dr. Abasi Enebong of 54 Gene, and also somebody like Olubanjo of Reddy. So that are actually possibly from their, like Dr. Enebong is a start of 4 Gene, is more like resulting from his thesis. And then somebody like Olubenga, I think from his master program, he started a startup. So what will you say to diaspora grads, those in grad schools in diaspora, that what should they be actually that are interested in going to the startup, or those actually have the potential, but not thinking yet about this? So what do you say to them? And lastly, so that you can take everything together, beyond viability, the topic, even though you later modify the topic, is about having viable business. So beyond viability, how do startups and businesses ensure sustainability, particularly beyond the founders? At times we see that possibly the founder is the one that drives everything, but at some point the founder might not be there. So how do we ensure that such startups or businesses live beyond these people? So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll take those questions. So the first one is on what to build pre and post COVID. I think something that's still basic. People are going to eat, right? Whether it's COVID or not COVID. And we saw this in what was deemed essential services, right? When COVID came up, food was a big one. Right, all the things big people that used to think they were big, banks, everything, everybody sat at home. All the engineers sat at home, but food was big. So food is always going to be big. Right? It's not about where do you find yourself in the value chain? What are you doing differently? Right? So healthcare is always going to be big. Right? Education, right, is going to be. So the key things that are always going to be big. But even post-COVID, there are now things that even assume a larger dimension. People now start realizing that you have a situation where borders could be closed for months, right? What does that mean for healthcare? If we import all our face masks, why can't we produce them locally? If we import all our equipment, what can we produce locally? So people are rethinking supply chains now. And even in the US, we are diversifying rather than just depending on China or Malaysia. There are places in Africa that we can depend on. Rather than just outsourcing things to Bangladesh, are there other places that we can actually look at? So again, those are the kind of opportunities that we need to start looking at post-COVID. Growth and profitability is a very interesting topic, and it will change a lot with COVID. Now, pre-COVID, you had a lot. The idea was most people in the startup world just raise money, drive growth, and then go raise less fund and go less fund. And you've seen it with Uber and stuff like that, right? A lot of companies, even WeWork. Now, there was no unprofitability. It was about just drive growth, and then you raise next money, and your valuation keeps going into billions, and then you probably sell or get acquired. People are rethinking a lot of that model going forward and saying, how do you ensure you are profitable as you grow? We understand for a lot of startups, the high growth startups, the first year or second year, you are most likely not going to be as profitable because you're trying to scale fast. You're trying to cover ground, expand into different countries and things like that. So you are pumping a lot of funds, right? And it takes a while to be profitable. But people are rethinking that model and say, fine, how can we ensure that profitability comes fast, that we don't have to rely on just continuous fundraising, which also depletes the value of the ownership of the founders. So it's going to be an interesting story going forward because there was a lot of free money in quotes before COVID. Now investors are more hesitant. VCs are looking very closely at models and saying, why should I put money in this? What if the world does not bounce back for the next 2 years? How are they going to survive? And you're seeing a lot of this happening. So I think it's key for entrepreneurs as you look through scaling your business to also look through how do I become break even earlier than normal? Where are my sources of revenue? Do I really need to spend so much money on that big office? But all the things that people spend a lot of money on pre-COVID, big offices, buying these each salaries and stuff like that. This time to now thinking about how do I survive? How do I become sustainable? So I'll take the viability question before I come back to the returnees question. So how do you ensure viability? How do you move from viability to sustainability and scalability? So with viability, right? So we're talking a lot about that, right? So ensuring viability is about are you selling a vitamin? Are you selling an aspirin? Are you selling something that's bought every day or once in a while? Are you creating a solution looking for a problem, or are you solving a problem? So a lot of times people just build apps and then start looking for users. And when I see that, I just turn it away. The first thing I ask you is, what is the problem you are solving? Unless you understand the problem you are solving properly, you will get stuck at some point because market changes, right? And you just build a solution, and because everybody can build an app this day, you build an app and see you have a startup and they're calling you CEO and founder, and you now go and update your LinkedIn. So that's not how you build a viable business. So what problem are you solving and what's your aspect? I'll give you an instance. So look at issue of a mousetrap. Some people look at business or startups as something like building a better mousetrap. And so it's okay, fine, let's build a mousetrap this way. But I look at businesses as, what is the problem you are solving? What is the problem that mousetrap is solving? The problem it is solving is getting rid of rats, right, of mice. So maybe you don't need a mousetrap. Maybe what you need is sole, that thing that they sell in traffic, right? Maybe that's all you need. Maybe what you need is gum that you put on the ground in the house. Maybe what you need is window seat, right? So if you don't go back to the root problem, understand the problem, you can't think of the various solutions. And so because you saw someone has a mousetrap, you are now going to build a fancier mousetrap. That's not the way to solve problems. It's about understanding what is the root of the problem and then innovating around the problem. That's the way they are. How you build businesses that become viable. Now, sustainability. One of the reasons why we're very big at innovation about teams is because diversity of a team, what you all bring to the table matters a lot in growing a business. And what works for today may not work for tomorrow. And I'll give you a very practical example. When we started at Andela, I invested in Aboyeji, right, in Fora, and I became Andela. Over time, he had to leave to go run something else. Now, he is one of the person who is good at innovating and stuff like that. He has ideas and is very bold like that. Well, probably doesn't, one of the person who wants to run a business, a stable business day to day, right? He's an innovator who has to break things and stuff like that. And so at the point in time, he had to leave. But because the business was structured enough, the co-founders were strong enough, he left Andela 4 years ago or more. Andela is still surviving. And then he went on to Flutterwave, where he was CEO. At the point he left Flutterwave to go do something else, but Flutterwave is still surviving, right? Because they've been able to build that. Well, it's not just me and my own stuff. And that's why I talk about collaboration, bringing in the right kind of co-founders. All the past 2-3 months of COVID, I've been involved in a startup, incubating a startup with some of our Yeah, and one of the things we have done very well is looking for the team. Well, okay, the CEO was the idea. We need a guy who can do the tech. We need a guy who can do the design. We need a guy who can do the operations. And it means giving us some of your equity, but it's sustainable in the long run. What happens a lot of time, people do want to share equity, and so they want to own 100% of zero, whereas they can have 20% of a very big thing, right? People ask me today how much percentage you have in Andela, and I'm like, that's not what matters. Even though it's 0.000%, it's of a big thing. There are companies that are 25% off that have not left the ground. So if we ask 0.0001% of a big thing, then that's something. That's a mindset. That being able to bring in help and also give out equity and give out stuff to them so they also feel invested in the business. I think when we start doing those things, that businesses actually outlive you. Like, can go on and move on to something else, and the business continues to survive because it's not just built on you as the founder. Now, next one is returnees, right? And that was my challenge. Again, it is not enough that you are gotten a PhD and you are publishing 50 papers and that been started by 100 people. I think also have to ask yourself, what is your contribution to humanity? What's going to be the outcome of the research you are doing? And that's why I love people like Dr. Abbas, right? The physiology people, and I encourage a lot of researchers, even if you're not the one who is going to do it yourself, let's us build a team around your ideas, right? That can take it. And this happens a lot in the US, where you go to these universities and you leverage the IP, you license the IP, and someone else runs with the IP. A lot of things that we use today are not being run by the guys. The professor still wants to continue to polish his paper. That's fine. Dr. Salami wants to continue to polish his paper and attend conferences. That's fine. But we have built something for concrete that we can use. Let him bring it to us. Let us build a team around that where he just serves as a technology advisor to them. He gets a part of the equity, and someone else runs with the idea. And that's fine. Whenever he wants to come and take a more active role, that's also fine. So I think part of what happens to us in Nigeria is that we don't have a very clear process around IP management, around patents and stuff like that. Last couple of years, trying to work with the University of Ibadan around even bringing transparency to what exists in the IP database. There are probably things that people have published papers on, have done research on, that's never seen the light of the day. But if it's obvious, something that is a searchable database, you can go in there and search with an abstract. And then, for instance, if I'm starting a refinery and there's some new technologies that have been done that allow me to be able to handle spillages, right, with local materials, local sludge, whatever, and it's been done as UI. How do I know? There should be a way I can search through that database and actually they come to the university and talk to the IP office that allow me to not commercialize it. So I think there needs to be a lot more handshake between town and gown, right? Between those in the industry, entrepreneurs, and those who want to be in the labs. I think that's going to be what transforms us. And I'm amazed by what the 54G people are doing, and a lot of other people who have been able to translate their research into real stuff. So I hope that answers. Okay, yeah, there's another question on governments, the ban and stuff like that. May Allah forgive Fahim, and a very sad story. It was someone that we dealt with in the course of our doing business, either as investors or as partners at one of our startups. And so a very, very sad story. We pray that God comfort his family. So in terms of government, I think one of the problems that happen is that we as entrepreneurs, as innovators, we think we can be in our own silos and leave government to do its own. And so that's government, I'm not concerned, until the day they bring up the rules. And you see in the US and other places, you see entrepreneurs actively play a part in lobbying government, in influencing decisions, in influencing laws, in engaging, in explaining, even before it comes to the point where they are banning you and stuff like that. And I think we're not doing enough in Nigeria. And we're speaking about this within the tech sector, where we need to be able to, in advance. So for instance, there's fintech. Governments are thinking about how do you regulate fintech. They don't know enough about blockchain, about this. You don't wait until they ban it. You actually organize seminars, you engage with lawmakers, you educate them on these new things. What does 3D printing mean? What does AI mean? How does that influence us? How does that impact us? Now you actually carry them along and educate them so they're more informed in taking those roles. And at some point, as entrepreneurs, if you have your money, probably time to start influencing elections, start educating people on the right candidates to vote for, and start sponsoring good people to National Assembly. to hopefully make good laws too. Okay, I hope I answered those questions.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, our guest speaker. My name is Abduraouf Dibayo. It's a pleasure listening to the guest speaker, and definitely have a wealth of experience. So before I start the panel session on investments or investors, please, for those that have not voted in the polls, please kindly do so. We have only 56% of the members that voted. So I will appreciate if you can just take the next 1 minute to complete the poll. So while you do that, I would like to seek the indulgence of the speaker and also the organizers, because I know we have spent a certain amount of time listening to the speaker, and the time left for panel discussion is not sufficient. So I seek your indulgence to, stay a bit more patient with us while we try to round up this program. We also have a question and answer session after this. Mr. Idris, thank you for this presentation. I have a lot of questions to ask, and I'm not sure I'll be able to do all of this. But looking at the poll that we have now, looking at the results of the poll that we have now, the first question is, as a young entrepreneur, which of the following sources will you choose for your capital? And as I expected, the maximum votes will go to the rather save my money to start. Mr. Idris, when you started your project in the 2005, 2007, how did you raise your capital? You are muted, please.
Okay, yeah. So again, different people have different perspectives to these things. But I'm very big on using my own money. All right. Again, I risk my own money. That way, the worst that will happen is I will drink area and sleep. Nobody's going to be knocking on my door asking me for their money. So again, which is why also today I very, very reluctantly take money from people for businesses. Very, very reluctantly. Very, very reluctantly. I can tell you all the ideas and stuff like that, but taking your own money, I know. So with me, I was working in the US. I think at that point I was working for Chevron, and so I had some extra cash or whatever it is to invest in the laptop business. So that and that. And a point in time when I invited others to invest, I made it clear to them they were not investing through me. This was what we're investing in. These were the risks. We were investing on your own name and stuff like that. So if anything goes wrong, it's not me. So when it went wrong, it wasn't them having given Idris money. That was one. Then when we started investing in startups in 2012, we were going to startups and they needed funding. I went around Lagos talking to people to invest, but people wanted to do real estate. They wanted to do oil and gas deals. So we were not giving money. We went to the Silicon Valley, spoke with different people. They liked us, but they were not willing to send money to Nigeria, stuff like that. This was even before Hush Puppy, right? So we decided, what do we do? And what happened was about 3-4 of us who were working in the oil and gas industry, we took some money out of our 401ks or our retirement funds. You pay a penalty, you pay 10% penalty, and you can take some funds out. We took some of that money out, and that was where the first investment then we call it the Afropreneur Tech Limited. That was where the first investment came from. That went to Andela, into Flutterwave, into Hot Bay, into ePump, and a few other companies. So it was personal money. It was only until 2018 when we set up the VC fund, the Locked-in Capital, that we started taking other people's money. And that other people's money is not coming to me. So it's an established, registered VC fund that has all the paperwork, that you do all the paperwork with, and everything legal, and you put the money there, you invest there, and all the terms are clear. So so if anything happens, you're not saying you gave Idris money. You're not giving Idris money. Idris is not collecting money from anybody. This is where the money, and this is the process.
Thanks
let me continue on that. I think I advise entrepreneurs as much as possible to bootstrap. I think we're too comfortable with this idea of I'm going to go and raise money, right? Even on something that you're not, I get probably 10, 15, 20 emails every week from people who want to raise money for doing this. They've not even tried anything at all. They come in my inbox. When we talk about investing, the first money that should ideally come is from you. If it means you having to sell your shirt or save some money, whatever, if you believe strongly enough in it, go and push some of your own funds in it. Risk some of your own funds. After that, we'll talk about FFF, friends, families, and fools. Right? You should have some friends that you went to school with who believe you enough to put money, or who are foolish enough to trust you with their money, or family who just say, you know what, well, let's support you. You know, problem is so much. Just take this money and go. That is where your initial funds should come from. When you're proving the concept is when you now take outsiders' money, because otherwise here it will become a EFCC matter. So because of that, we usually advise that you bootstrap, and not every investment has to raise money as well. If you can build an investment or a business where you find clients, you're solving a real problem, and they are paying you, and you're using that revenue to run the business, so only less headache for you than having to raise money. Yes,
Mr. Idris, sorry to cut you short because of time. So, using your own money seems to be the safest, right? Because learning from your experience, your first startup failed at the point in time, and you said you lost about 50 million naira or thereabouts. So, for a starter, this is a safe platform to start with. If you had started with a loan or getting a private investor or corporate investor, then you might find a problem getting out of this situation. So, and that brings me to my second question. How did you get out of your situation after you failed in the first startup?
So I think failure is not fatal, right? That again, it's about getting back after, the aspire to perspire speakers, right? You fail and you get up again. I think for me, it's about, and that's understanding your risk tolerance. Understand what you are able to risk, right? I had not sold my house to go and invest. I had not sold my car to go and invest. I'm not taking my wife's money to go and invest. It was my money, right? So it was a setback, but it only meant that I just had to strategize, understand what had gone wrong, and decide on another approach to go about it, right? There are people who were also in similar circumstances, who are taking money from other people, and up to today, they're probably still repaying part of that money from 2008 that I'm aware of. Again, so it's about what's your own risk tolerance and how do you approach it. And for me, after that, I didn't just go back to investing money again. I strategized, and that was how I came up with working with partners and going gradually, because I realized that it was not just about just throwing money at and investing like that. Most likely, I will keep up losing my money, but decide something different. Yeah,
that is clear. And based on that you started partnering with others. It brings me to the fifth question on the poll, that as an expatriate abroad, which of the following is your utmost concern? Like I also guessed, the majority of the answers will be the lack of trust in potential partners in Nigeria. So this is the main concern of most expatriates, and this is also what you experience. So what is the secret for this success story that you have when you have a new partner? So how did you manage with these partners to have a good team, to have trust among yourself? How did you manage to do this? Because this is not an easy thing to do, because issues of trust, how do we share the profits? How much are you going to contribute? How did all this play out?
Okay, so first I will say we're lucky, and I'll thank God for all my partners. Then I will say what also helped us, we're starting from zero. so we were building together, and it would have been, there were people we invited to the table. So today we have 4 partners. I remember there were 1 or 2 other people who we invited to join at that point, who let us have some time because they were not patient enough. But we were not sharing money. Where we were putting money in, there was no money to be shared. So we are about 10 years now. I'll say we only started paying ourselves as partners probably last year or the year before, right? The first 8 years was just money going out, right? Building an innovation hub, building Lofty Inc., building this, building that, right? So it was more of commitment. And so it was about, do you believe in this enough to put in your funds, right? And
did you have? Sorry, Mr. Idris. Sorry.
So, yeah, it helped that some people, like two of the partners are, okay, so the four partners, four guys, two of them are grown up together, all right? So primary school, secondary school, and that within that touch. Three of us were living in Houston together, right? Two of us had gone to university together at the University of Houston together. Again, so there were touch points where we had some chance to study each other, right? So we could vouch for some things, right? There's some people, this is part how bad you say Nigeria is. There are people today, if I had 20 million, I would give my money to without looking back, right? There are people in Nigeria right now that, so again, it's about past experiences and stuff like that. And there are people that I know that I love, that are great people that will not give a cover to, not because they are bad people, but because they're not just business guys, right? So it's about, so again, I think, to summarize, what helped was there were touch points where we had done things together, maybe not as four people, but one or two people were known ourselves. Then, secondly, it helped that there was no money to be shared. So you were building for the long haul, and only people could stay till now. Now it looks like a success story, but again, it has been 10, 15, 20 years in the building, and we're still not done yet, again. And so we pray for things. And again, there are going to be differences, there are going to be disagreements. But again, there's that trust, if there's that belief in where you're going, I think you find a way to solve it. And so you're not arguing over, why am I getting that 20%? And this guy is 37%. It's about the big building the pie and stuff like that.
Okay. Because of time, I will not be able to discuss all the points I have. But to round up, there's a final point that I want us to discuss, which is number 3 on the poll. So in which of the following would you rather invest your hard-earned money? So my prediction was wrong in this case. I had predicted that people would choose capital markets or purchase fixed assets. But people chose to partner with an investor and trusted individuals in Nigeria. But the question is this: being a successful investor and entrepreneur, how will you judge between the income you get from your salaries or from investing in capital markets or purchasing fixed assets and later selling it with doing real business? What is the profit margin when you compare this? And this is the final question from me.
Yeah, so I think it differs from individuals. So, and there are a couple of factors that are affected. You yourself as an individual, your ethical guidelines, which guides what you can do, what can invest in. So for instance, I can't invest in alcohol, can't invest in gambling, I can't, again, by nature of being a Muslim and things like that. Even for stock, there's only some things I can invest in. So I have partners who are stock market guys. They will put any extra money they have, they put in stock market. That's probably not me. After I lost money in the 2008 stock market crash in Nigeria, I don't think I've gone back in Starcoms and all the rest, right? So I don't think I've gone back. Some people who do real estate. I'm not a big fan of real estate, right? So for me, I see a lot of it as debt capital. But again, it's a place I don't understand very well. So maybe at some point I will still do it, but right now I don't do it. But if someone knows the space very well, it works for them, fine. For me, I understand tech very well. I understand startups, I understand founders. So I feel very comfortable putting money in it. Some people, they want to invest in things that they have control over. I have some friends, they will not put a dime in something unless they have operational control. Now that's their nature. They have to have an operational control in what they invest in. So I think it differs. And some people are just better as workers. And again, throw away that idea that Nigerians have that you cannot be successful or become a millionaire by being a 9 to 5. You can in a good company. We saw the list of highly paid CEOs in Nigeria that came out a few days ago. Right? There are people who are well paid. Satya is working for Microsoft, well paid. There are people working in different companies that are well paid. So sometimes helping others build their businesses might be what works for you. You're the kind of person who doesn't want to take the risk of an entrepreneur. It's about figuring out what works for you. You don't, because everybody is putting money in stock, just go and put money in stock. You will lose money. Everybody is doing real estate, you go and put money in real estate, you lose money. I think it's about figuring out what works for you, and it's going to always be different. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Idris, for your time. The moderator is over to you now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much to the panelists, and special thanks to our guest speaker. It was indeed an insightful and engaging discussion. There have been lots of questions that have been raised. However, time will not permit to address these questions today. So I was going to ask, is it possible that we draft and collate all the questions both on this live program and that which has been asked via YouTube to you, and find time to answer the questions, and then we share the responses with the participants? I don't know if that will be okay.
That is not a problem at all.
Or better still, I think someone is also suggesting that if it were possible that we have another session dedicated to only question and answer, if that will fit your schedules.
Does it have to be the same time?
Yeah, we could work with what suits you. I mean,
I think for a lot of people also in the US and Nigeria were worried that this was too early. Do you want to do a poll now on timing? Do people want to stay the same time, or would you prefer something later in the day, Nigerian time?
Okay, I think
as long as it's not between 12 to 2 p.m. Nigerian time. I usually have a class 12 to 2 p.m. Nigerian time. As long as it's not that, I'm fairly flexible.
I think Dr. Nas could just send out a poll and we'll get the general feedback to know when it's convenient. But your availability is what is much more important.
No, if we do a poll, I can now see. So again, I'm flexible. I prefer not early mornings like this. Again, it's gone well. But if people prefer early morning, again, I will get up and do it. If people prefer early morning, I'll get up and do it. Right. So again, if you can do a poll now and see what works for people. If they want it to stay the same time, if that works for everybody, fine. But otherwise, if they prefer later in the evening, we can just do a 1 hour Q&A. Of course, I won't be able to answer the questions. There's several things I've seen in the post that people have posted that I have no idea about. I know only what I know. So I won't clear what I don't know. So yeah.
Okay, well, I think we'll just wait for the polls and then we'll know when is much convenient. Before then, I would have collated all the questions and restructured them, those who are similar, and merged them together. We sincerely want to thank you for the time you've taken, and even though it's not convenient, but you just chose to be with us today to share your wealth of knowledge. On behalf of the community and the participants across the world, we sincerely appreciate and thank you for your time and the willingness to share from your experience and knowledge. We sincerely appreciate. So as we wait for the polls.
Yeah, thanks to Dr. Salami for dragging me. I said no several times before he forced me to say yes. I'm not big on lectures and stuff like that, so.
Okay, I think the polls are up now. Just to soon come up, and then we'll wait for.
Yeah, the polls are up now.
Okay. Interesting. It seems there's another person bearing my name on the list.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, we have someone with
I saw something from there. I was like, no, I didn't post that now. When did I post that? Okay. Okay, we're done with the poll. I think 76%. And stay close.
And there seems to be a close margin between 10 and 28, 2 to 4 p.m. Nigerian time.
So what that is coming from, I think it's just to summarize what that is coming from, key takeaways. I encourage people to do businesses back home. It's tough, but it's not all negative. Again, I will say on the overall, I will say my investments have been profitable, alhamdulillah, overall. There have been losses and there continue to be losses. But I think, again, when you lose, and I told Inyaboiji this when we invested in 2012, even if you lose my money, as long as you improve yourself as an individual, I'll consider it an investment in your MBA. And I think that's the idea. So that even when money is lost, if it has provided salary to people, it has provided income to people, and they have tried their best. And that's why I'm keeping it on people. I'm not saying you have to make profit by force, again, especially in startup stuff, but try your best, put in your best, be sincere. And at the very least, the worst that will happen is that you would have gained experience and would have learned lessons not to repeat. And I think that's key for me in all we do.
Okay, so I think generally from the polls, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Nigerian time seem to have 25%, which is, I think, the highest we have from the polls here. I don't know if you can see the polls.
Okay, yeah, I can see the poll now, so 22%. 22% said same time, 25% said 2 to 4 p.m. Yeah.
And 21
so,
to 6 p.m.
Yeah. Okay.
That's close.
Yeah, whatever you decide. I think I'm fine with 3 to 5 p.m. if that works. Yeah.
Okay, I think we'll.
You can just compile the questions and stuff like that. And for people asking for the recording, I think the organizers can make that available. I think it's on YouTube or something.
Yeah. So I think one last.
Now, the 2 to 4 p.m. So you also have to look at for Nigeria and Saudi, for those who have to go for their prayers. I hope it doesn't affect their prayer time.
2 to 4 p.m. is just okay. Yes, it's okay for Saudi.
We can make it 2:30. 2:30 it should be. I mean, 2:30 Nigeria time to cover for the prayer here, or 2:15 Nigerian time.
Yeah, I think 2 to 4 is fine. So whoever some people can join in 5-10 minutes late or thereabouts. So again, I think, and then even Nigeria, I think people pray before 2 p.m. So I think we're just, yeah.
I think we'll deliberate on that.
However, you can decide. Now you have the poll. At the end of the day, the decision is the admin. Go and decide and just let us know. Whatever you call it, we don't have a choice. We'll show up, inshallah.
All right, no problem. We'll sincerely once again thank you for the time. And on behalf of the community, we would also like to thank our participants who have taken the time to participate in this webinar session. Hopefully we'll have this population and this number again during the question and answer segment, which we're still trying to deliberate and fix a time. But inshallah, very soon, hopefully today or tomorrow, the time will be communicated effectively. So once again, thank you for the time, and I'll see you all during the next session of the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No. Thank you.
Thank you so much.